Hey everybody, how's it going? Coach Kim here from KimberlyBroom.com, coming to you live from the suburbs of Boston on a rainy Wednesday night. So how is everyone doing tonight? As you're jumping on, say hello to me. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Love to see who's joining me. Hey Cindy, hey Suzanne, how's it going? So if you're catching the replay later on, hashtag replay. So give me a second here. I want to just share this out just to a couple of groups here before we get started. But while you're waiting for me, like I said, let me know where you're tuning in from. You can drop me an emoji. Let me know how you're feeling. Cindy, where are you? Like, you're traveling like crazy. Where are you at? Where are you at right now? I'm just going to share this to a couple of groups. Get some going here. All right. So the other night I was telling my story. So a couple nights ago, I was sharing how like 3 years ago, how I was burnt out. I was feeling like garbage and how I had figured out that I had a major hormone imbalance and it was cortisol. And someone on my post had asked about, well, how did you know that? And you know, that's a great question. So I figured I would come back on and address it. Hey, Suzanne, you're in Bellingham. Awesome. And Cindy, you're back home for a hot minute. God, you were like, Cindy, you were just like in Europe 2 days ago, or I don't know. I can't keep up with you. I love it. It's great. Keep posting. So anyhow, I thought I would come back on to address this question, because I'm sure other people want to know, because it is confusing. You know, when you think you have a hormone imbalance, you're probably like, well, how do I figure that out, right? Like, how do I know what's what? Well, this is what we do, right? This is what we do, but this is what I did. So 3 years ago, I went through these 3 steps, and then, you know, and this is part of the program, one of the programs that I now coach. But because it was so life-changing for me, this is why I decided to coach it, because the hormone imbalance, it's no fun. And there's no coincidence that women, you know, as we hit our late 30s, mid 30s, late 30s, 40s, that, you know, the thyroid starts to go and we start to see these things cropping. It's not a coincidence, right? It's just from, you know, decades of, you know, maybe too much coffee, maybe too much alcohol, just too much, too much of this or that. And that's a whole nother live topic. So anyhow, just to address the question was, what did I do? How did I figure this out? How did I know? And my short answer to her was, well, I took a diagnostic. And that's real top level, right? But really, I went through 3 steps. First, I had to really let my body calm down. I had to, look at what I was taking in, right? And what I did was I removed not all the top known, but specific top allergen type foods. I just took those out of the equation altogether, right? Just so that my body could simmer down, right? So I gave myself a few weeks to go through this process and cleanse, right? It's a cleansing process. I did eat all good foods. I got to eat protein and healthy fats, and I had carbs. Yes, I still ate carbs. I still ate them then. Vegetables, of course, always, and fruits. So, you know, I was eating good foods, and I wasn't eliminating any food groups, but I was just eating the right foods. I was eating a lot of anti-inflammatory foods just to calm my system down and get a baseline, right? Because we have to know what we're dealing with, but we got to strip out some things first and foremost. And then what I did was I went through a systemized food reintroduction where, you know, we introduced those, and I knew exactly what to look for. I was given a list of things that this particular food will present. If you're reactive to it, it will present in this way. So I was able to determine and really figure out, like, okay, what foods are good for me and what foods are bad for me, right? So these 2 steps really had to come first before I could deal with the hormone imbalance, right? So I really needed to calm down those flames, because, you know, when your body is just like angry, that's how it felt. Like, it felt like my body was just angry, like certain things I would take in my stomach. It just, I don't know. I remember describing that to someone. I'm like, I don't know what it is, but something's going on. And geez, I can recall, so this was 3 years ago that I went through this, but starting to fry my adrenals and starting to jack up my cortisol, that started in my 30s. I remember going to the doctors when I was in my corporate gig. It was a company I worked for in Shrewsbury, and I was so burnt out. And my doctor was like, you are way too young to be feeling like this. And it was funny because I was go. I would work crazy hours and put in, and I loved it. I was always challenged, but they expected a lot. And I produced, and the more I produced, the more they expect. And I was like burning myself out. But I remember her, like when I actually sat down to actually have somebody listen to me, it was like almost like tears. I was getting all choked up because I'm like, I can't believe as I was telling her like how bad I felt, like how it just hit me of how bad I really feel. And she's like, you are just too young to be feeling like this, and you need to eat better and work out. And while it jarred me because I was like, yeah, I was too young to be feeling like that, what I was at the time. But that was the beginning of really starting to, when I look back, I didn't know it then, but that's when, it was a decade full of frying out my adrenals. So, hey guys, how's it going? As you're jumping on, say hello. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Appreciate that. Jill, I was just talking about Shrewsbury. I don't want to mention any names. But that was when I started to burn out my adrenals and my cortisol levels started to get out of whack. So anyhow, it's from decades of stuff that we've done. So 3 years ago, I was in the middle of saying this. So I did those 2 steps first and foremost. I eliminated foods that were suspect, that are the top triggers for people, and then I slowly and methodically reintroduced them to figure out what the hell my body liked and what the hell it didn't like. And yeah, I figured out some things that I was taking in daily that it really didn't like. So that was the first step. Had to do those first. But then getting into the hormones, right? That's why you guys probably jumped on here, because you want to hear all about the hormones. Like, how do we deal with that? Well, we take people through a very detailed diagnostic. We're looking at 16 different metabolic hormones, right? It's a very detailed system. And so we take our clients through this diagnostic. This is the exact same diagnostic that I went through to figure it out. And we just look at symptoms, right? So it's a paper diagnostic, and we look at symptoms. And yes, you can take this to your physician later on, because I'm telling you, at that time in my 30s, I had stuff going on with my thyroid. And all my doctor said was, you're too young to be feeling like this. You need to work out. You need to rest. You need to eat better. But she wasn't, they didn't take a step to go further. And I can't tell you how often that even if your levels check out within normal range, there is still things that can be going on. So sometimes we have to be a bigger advocate for ourselves. So having this diagnostic to take and go to your health professional can help you drill down into this even further. But we find with the majority of our clients, they don't even need it. So once you have this diagnostic, we know which hormones to address first, right? So some clients have many imbalances, and it can be just by adjusting one hormone or treating one hormone that will start to balance out the others. So there are certain hormones that take precedence over others, right? So if you have an imbalance, there are certain hormones that we're going to be like, all right, these are your imbalances. Maybe you have 4 imbalances, but these 2 or this one we're going to hit first. And just by hitting this one, all the others will come into balance. Right? So it's a detailed diagnostic, and you want to take your time going through it and treating it. And once we know which imbalance that we're looking at, it's a matter of treating it with certain ingredients, with nutrients, certain vitamins, or herbs, right? It really depends on the imbalance. There's so many that we deal with, but there's specific dosages and times. And I don't sell all these supplements because there's just way too many, but they're all natural ingredients, right? And stuff you can get anywhere, but it's all natural and it's not pharmaceuticals, right? And you're starting to bring your body into balance. And a lot of it is food, right? It starts off with the food, and that was the first thing I did. So that is the 3 things that I did to answer your question. I think it was Sharon who asked, the 3 things that I did 3 years ago to figure out my imbalance, and then to treat the imbalance, right? And things shift over time, right? Things shift. Maybe your diet shifts, even though you've determined some foods that, really aren't that good for you. Every now and then you take some in, or maybe just if you're traveling or whatever, but things will shift even over time. So it's nice that I have this diagnostic that I can go back to, every 6 months, every 9 months, and revisit it and see what's going on with me. Hey, Jenny, how's it going? Hey, Donna, Amy, guys, thanks for jumping in. Appreciate it. I don't know if I've missed comments here. I'm going to have to scroll back. But anyhow, I wanted to address that because it was a great question. I don't think I really hit it. I just kind of said I had, I realized that my cortisol level was all jacked up. My adrenals were fried. And that's how I dealt with it. Those 3 things, first is figuring out the food. Second was, first was a cleanse, like kind of letting my body take a breather, going back to baseline with, non-allergen type foods. Then the food reintroduction was second. And then the hormones, and that is the majority. It's not all of the components of our Metabolic Method Elite program, but that's what I did 3 years ago, and it was life changing. It was life changing for me because it took me in a whole new path. Really, I was like, oh my God! Like I could think of clients. There was like this handful of clients that I'd had prior. And I'm like, this is what they need. Like I knew they were still struggling. I'm like, what is going on with these? I knew this is what they needed. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like life changing. So that's part of my story and how I ended up here. So guys, I hope that was helpful. I'll have to tag my girl Sharon because she was the one who asked about that. I'm so excited that you guys tuned in. We are talking more about adrenals. We are talking more about cortisol and hormones on Saturday. We're doing a free webinar. The Metabolic Method is offering this up for free, just a health talk. If you want the link to that, it's called the Recovery Recipe, because adrenal fatigue, cortisol, hormone imbalance, it is no joke. It really messes with the quality of your life. So if you think maybe there's something going on and you want to hear a little bit more, just sit in on it, right? It's just information. Hit me up and I'll get you that link. But it's this Saturday morning, the 28th. All right, guys, I will catch you later. I'll see you on the next one. Have a great night. Bye.